It's called Remembering Some Guys. When Deadspin does it, I guess they're called Defector now. It's you just name a bunch of baseball players, like, hey, let's remember some guys, and you're just like,
Yeah. No,
all right, what about?
Man, one of the funnest car rides of my life. This was Discothecue era. This was in the 90s, and Discothecue, my old band with my brother, and drummer Kevin. We did like a weekend tour with the guys from this band Further, who we were friends with, the Rademacher brothers, and and those guys were very funny. They were from Florida originally, and one of them was kind of canceled a few years back.
Super canceled. He got so canceled. Very bad.
Sort of spectacular fashion, which
Crazy story for that band, though.
not going to comment on that, but yeah, I mean, just very, very funny dudes, especially back in the day. And Brent, the old, I think he's the older brother. I can never keep straight which one was older. But Brent was kind of always, well, anyway, Brent does this label called Curation now. That's pretty good, actually, out of LA. But anyway, the point of the story is we did like this weekend with them, and I think it might have just been me and my brother, and then we had like somebody from Further like jump on to play drums with us or something. But we went up to like, I think like Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo. But on the ride up there, these guys, like they were a bit older than us, and they grew up in Florida in the 70s, like in Tampa, and they actually, I think they were season ticket holders the first couple of seasons of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which if you know anything about the history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their first couple of seasons were notable because the first season they didn't win any games. They had a perfect season. Kind of like the Lions would have much later. But then they came very close to having a second perfect season. But at the very end, they ended up pulling out a victory. But they were big football guys, and so on this drive up to wherever, Santa Barbara or San Luis Obispo, the whole time just in the back, it was just us like, hey man, you remember Garo Premium? You remember just like pulling like the most obscure
guys,
yeah, it was exactly some guys. I mean, and the thing is, like, just like, it was just all of the, and for me, like, I mean, I collected football cards, I mean, like when I was like 6 or 7, and I would walk out, ride my bike up to the grocery store, and spend my 25 cents on a pack of I know this sounds like I'm talking about like 1905 or something, but it was 1975, close enough. But yeah, and so like there were so many of these just names that are just like still to this day just kind of ricochet around in the furthest reaches of my brain.
That's the whole premise. There's a long running Deadspin feature called "Let's Remember Some Guys," and it's just naming guys like guys who played pro baseball.
Oh man, it was great. I mean, this was the same thing except just with football. But yeah. Good times. Ray Guy.
I used to buy. Yeah, that's a great guy. Yeah.
Literally remembering some guy. All right, let's introduce the pod.
The pod is tired. Maddie's joking.
Rory immediately got up and left.
Rory bails. He doesn't have to be here for this. Maddie, you can walk away too.
That's fun.
It's fun. The pod is tired. The car podcast for people who understand that cars are bad. My name's Peter. Producer Maddie is here, and Rory was here up until a minute ago. He just politely excused himself.
Some sort of dog or child emergency, probably.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, today there was a thing that came up, was it last episode?
Episode 61, talking about the slate truck.
Where, I don't know, we were talking about, Rory asked the question, what do you think is the best-selling two-door car on the market at this point in 2025? 2024, I guess, the last year we have numbers for. And did we research this? Did we look it up? No. That's hard. I did come up with a few guesses though. But
sorry to interrupt. It would be kind of hard to research because
that's
most
the thing. It is hard.
Cars that have two doors come in four-door variants, and like car companies don't list. There's not a separate entry on the ledger for like Honda Civic two-door, Honda Civic four-door, or like Bronco or Wrangler. So
There probably is, but it's in like a filing cabinet.
Right. Although at this point, I mean, the thing is, even having said that, there are ever fewer examples of cars where there are both two and four-door variants, and I mean, we'll get more deeply into this. But like for example, the Honda Civic, as you just mentioned, which up until pretty recently, you could get a two-door Honda Civic, but they don't sell one anymore.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Right? Current gen is just four-door only.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a four-door with a hatch, or a four-door with a trunk. But if I'm not mistaken, there's no two-door Civic anymore.
I think that's
Is
correct.
that right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's that new Acura. Is that?
Four-door Integra.
Yeah, the Integra is four-door as well. I mean, they're talking about there's that Prelude that they've been showing, like a next generation, new generation Prelude, which would basically be I'm assuming Civic-based. I mean, it always was two-door coupe. We'll get into the distinctions between.
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd bet that it'll be a two-door.
You don't think it will? I mean, that's kind of the whole point of the Prelude.
It might
right?
be. It might be, but I wouldn't bet on it. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, what would be the point of a Prelude that's a four-door? That's just a Civic.
Sportier. I don't know. No, this new one is the new Prelude is not. It's not just.
I mean, it's not just a Civic, but I have to think that it will.
Yeah.
It's sharing a platform at least.
Oh yeah, but it's
broadly
it's a
speaking.
different deal.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Anywho, but yeah, we didn't do any research. Since just in thinking about this and walking around and looking around, I'm putting forward. I think like my guess for best selling two-door in 2024/5. I gotta think it's Jeep. I gotta think it's just Jeep Wrangler.
I think the Bronco is outselling the Jeep overall.
Is it? I mean, that was my other guess. That was actually my first guess, and then I thought, oh, but they sell more Jeeps than
that was the case until
My
recently. But
guess from being on KBB and seeing what the most available new models are that they have in two-door is, and that at lowest MSRP are 2025 Chevy Silverados.
Yeah.
Do they sell a Silverado 2-door though? Currently?
Oh yeah, it's in there. Here, I'll pop a little.
So Bronco does not outsell Jeep. Sorry. But they're close. This actually Q1 2025 was the closest it's ever been.
Okay, it's in the chat. It's just one of the listings popped up.
Oh wow.
That seems like a stock graphic
interesting.
that's there on all of them, but they're it says it's 2-door.
Oh, I guess like the work truck. I honestly I did not know that they still sold a short bed 2-door. That's kind of appealing actually.
Yeah, I figure if this does well, that kind of suggests like a segment that could pivot into the slate truck pretty easily if they want to go electric.
Yeah.
Like if these sell well and they're a budget option and they know there's a market for it, that they're still selling them, that's good news for the slate truck. If there's
That would be I mean that would be like that's a two-wheel drive 4-cylinder. So that's like a fleet truck basically. Like that's like steel wheels. I mean that's like that's a stripper. But it is interesting that they still sell it. I like the whole thing with pickups, and the reason manufacturers love them is they're really cheap to build, and they have super high margin. So like you can sell, a $70,000 pickup is not meaningfully more expensive to build than a $23,000 pickup. So it's almost all margin. But this, I honestly had no idea they're even making these anymore. But this is a work truck for like a business to buy. I would be like shocked to even see this like on a dealer lot.
Yeah.
Which is
Pretty appealing
Totally appealing.
For $23,000.
Oh yes, sir.
I mean,
I'd take a plain Jane white truck 2-door, with steel wheels and two-wheel drive.
Closest things in price are Fiat 500e, Nissan Frontier S, also a big old 2-door truck, Jeep Wrangler. There they go, Mini Cooper, on and on and on.
It's too bad I don't have any money because this is very appealing.
Here, I'll send you the Nissan too. Pop this in the chat. Beep. That's for $25K.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So I guess there's still a few 2-door trucks around.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they were doing this either.
You can still buy them new too.
Yeah, but not a whole hell of a lot else other than just kind of like pretty, your kind of assorted sports cars or luxury coupes or
cute little weird guys,
pony cars, whatever.
Mustang Challenger.
The thing is, this represents a pretty seismic shift. This is something that I've definitely witnessed in my lifetime, and there was a time when 2-doors were, if not the kind of default car, pretty close. I mean, they were hugely popular, and even like into the 80s. In the early 80s, the best-selling cars were 2-door cars, like the number one like the we've talked about it before, the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme in the early 80s had spent several consecutive years at the top of the charts, and I thought it would be fun just to kind of talk about the I've been thinking about this, and it's like there's a bunch of different kind of I don't want to attempt like a just full taxonomy of 2-doors, right?
We're gonna list every 2-door car ever made.
Well, not every car, but
I've
like
got the
every
Wikipedia
type.
for every
the thing
2-door,
is,
and we're going through it.
Yeah.
Perfect. The music.
But just kind of like the big genres, the big main genres of 2-door cars that once dominated the landscape and are now kind of all but completely extinct. And I think in the cases of a few of these genres, I think they are effectively extinct. I made this document and then I hid it from myself. All right, let's start with the humble two-door sedan. Because this is
Cars like the Ford Model T, the Dodge.
well, the thing is, and I mean, as two-door sedan as distinct from coupe or coupe, as people in other parts of the world that aren't the U.S. Say.
Yeah, walk
say
us
that
through
word.
what a two-door sedan is, if not like the definition of a coupe.
Yeah, well, I mean, a coupe, and this is, and we're getting into some kind of fractious and
Debatable.
Let's get
semantics type
granular.
situation.
semantic territory that people get very heated
No,
about.
I love it. Let's do it.
Because coupe in this country for many years was just understood to mean like a sporty two-door. And when was it? In the aughts, when Mercedes rolled out that whatever
CLS.
that CLS, thank
Yeah.
you. Which was a sporty four-door sedan that had kind of the roof. It was kind of like a cut
coupe
roof.
line. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a kind of a chop top
Looked like an
Mercedes
upside-down
sedan,
Boat. Would be
right?
my way of
And
describing it.
and they called this a four-door coupe, which raised a lot of people's hackles, especially stateside, because we understand a coupe to be no, you can't four-door coupe. That doesn't make that, that's contradiction in terms.
Some would say that
yeah.
that the word coupe has the same origin as couple, which means two. But
You might say that,
We're
but
going to get way into this.
but you would be wrong.
Yeah.
because
people did say that.
because in fact, coupe, it comes from French to cut. So it literally what it's referring to is
the roof
a
line.
chop top car.
Yeah.
Is a car whose roof has been cut down. It has nothing to do with the number of doors. And so, I mean, it was something that rubbed me the wrong way initially. And I feel like a few people pointed this out, maybe most notably Robert Cumberford, the longtime automobile magazine kind of design guru, curmudgeon guy, who pointed out it's like, well, actually, it's fine. Coupe does not mean two doors. It means a roof that's cut down. But a two-door sedan, how is that different? Interestingly, I did have. I mean, I was hoping to have more time to kind of research this stuff, but I did search on two-door sedan, just like for kind of like just to see what came up, and there's a great story on. Do you guys ever look at that site Curbside Classic? Do you know that site, Rory?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's pretty great. And this is a story from 2020. The two-door sedan, 1920 to 2010, its origins and the last two-door sedan for each American brand and model. And it's by Paul Niedermeyer, who, if I'm not
Ooh.
mistaken, is
That's sad, yeah.
is Ed's father.
Nice.
And he kind of goes through, like, the way that he defines a two-door sedan is that it is a sedan whose roof line is shared between its 4-door and 2-door versions. So whatever is happening on the side with the number of doors, the roof is the same. Like the stamping, the physical. We're not talking vibes. We're talking like the physical.
Oh, yeah.
The actual roof is the same between the 2-door and 4-door variant. I like this definition. I feel like there are some kind of exceptions to it, and or places where it kind of breaks down. But it's a great story. He kind of traces it back to early days, and kind of just the development of the car, just as enclosed cars, and even kind of the origins of the sedan as a body style. The first sedans apparently, lots of them just had one door. Like that, it was just a novelty for the cabin to be enclosed, So you would just climb in, and your friends would climb in too, or else you would have like the back part, like your driver would be outside, and you guys would be inside in the back. But kind of neither here nor there for the purposes of our conversation. But yeah, there's the long extinct business coupe, right? Which was basically like a 2-door sedan. He says that this is different because the business coupe, the roof line was shorter, and in a business coupe, this is pre-war, kind of marketplace, but it was basically just like a pretty basic coupe that was a 2-door, and it was meant for like salesmen, for business travelers. All you need is it's just like a regular car. It's a regular sedan, but it's just 2 seats and kind of a parcel shelf in the back, and you can throw your briefcase and your samples
business
back there or whatever. Yeah, it's like, I gotta love the idea of a business coupe.
Business.
I wish
It's
we
party in
had
front.
those. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. He points out that business coupes didn't really survive much past World War II. I don't know that there are really many examples that.
That's the whole thing with this is like it's so semantic, and it's also so
Totally.
like these are all marketing terms. Like these are all
Yes.
terms that like companies used internally to describe their cars. But like
Right.
there were 2-door windowless Suburbans up until very recently. 2-door vans, like whatever, E series van or whatever. It's like that idea of like the fleet vehicle, like business type coupe, like did kind of persist for a long time, like into the 60s, 70s, 80s. But it's like they just stopped kind of using the name. You know what I mean? Like, or like there were also like
Well, what's an example? What's an example of like a business coupe that persisted into the 80s? Because I can't think of one.
I think that's probably the Suburban, or like arguably the van, right? The 2-door van, where it's like it's just the 2 seats in the front and no windows in the back.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the same
yeah.
same rough like customer, right? Like the same kind of
Right,
like,
but those are
purpose.
but also those are trucks. They're not cars.
Yeah. Okay. What about the VW Fox 2-door sedan?
That's just a 2-door sedan. I mean, it's not a two-seater. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah,
A
and
business
it's not
coupe
really,
is a
it's
two-seater.
not designed for. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll think about this. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, your point taken. I mean, all of this is just fucking semantics and games,
Yeah.
and which is what makes it fun to kind of.
It's
talk
marketing
about.
terms. It's like it's like how they describe their product internally.
Right.
Which is the funniest part about all of this too is like the way that individuals describe and understand their cars versus the way that like A, car people and then like B, car companies understand their cars. Like it's like we'll take the Mercedes. It's like how you and I describe our car. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we'll take the Volkswagen or whatever. But it's like you can get all the way down into the weeds of like of the terms of art, or like, you know, it's like the Porsche turbo, like the Taycan turbo is a great example of like people being like, oh god, fucking there's no fucking turbo, and like, you know, it's a very like hot point of debate, but like the Taycan turbo buyer doesn't care. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like they don't fucking.
Well, even
like,
I mean, look,
they don't know
I mean,
what a
at
fucking
this-
turbo is.
No, and at this point, I mean, we're so far beyond. I mean, it's like the difference between a fucking CUV, an SUV, a
Yeah.
crossover. You know, it's just like, come on, man. So I don't want to get it. That's part of why I like the kind of Niedermeyer definition of a two-door sedan as one that shares its roof with its four-door sibling.
That's the other part of this though, is like from a editorial or from like a like words do have to have meanings, and you do have to be able to describe things like in
Right.
words. And it's like that's like the point of frustration where it's like, okay, yeah, but it's your product, you call it whatever you want, but it's like how the fuck do I, you know, like how do I describe this? Like what how do I name this object, which is the fun part of it.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But well, so I mean, two-door sedans were for much of the 20th century, especially the second half of the 20th century, very common, just really, really popular. And I think of, you know, I mean, just like, especially in the US market, I mean, like pretty much like it was pretty rare for there to be a four-door car that you couldn't buy a two-door version of. When we're talking about just like, you know, your basic Chevys or Fords, or, you know, when we're just talking about like family sedans, so many of those, I mean, it was super, super common, like I would say kind of paradigmatic that a given car, you could buy a version of it. You could buy a two-door version, you could buy a four-door version, you could buy a station wagon version. And they were pretty much all the same car. They were based on the same platform. They shared the nameplate. And, you know, you went to the dealership and you got the brochure, and it would show you each of those versions. And where that started fading away, I think, I think like in the 80s, like the kind of some of my white whale cars that I still get really excited when I see, and I know that there are examples that persisted after this, but the General Motors 80s A bodies. So these were GM's kind of mid-sized sedans, that front drive sedans that were introduced in, I think, 82. And they were kind of an evolution of the X bodies that came before them, which were the like the Chevy Citation and its siblings, that were kind of GM's first attempt at a kind of compact / mid-sized front drive car, and were a big hit out of the gate, and then everybody realized, oh wait, these are fucking terrible. Like they were really, really just badly engineered and made. The A bodies kind of took some of that architecture, and it's like let's do a do-over here. So you had your Chevy Celebrity, your Buick Century, your Pontiac 6000, and the Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra, because everything Oldsmobile was called a Cutlass, but this was the Cutlass Sierra. The Century and the Cutlass Sierra, those guys kind of persisted into the 90s, well into the 90s. But with those, when those cars were introduced, the four doors were kind of the ones that were kind of that you saw in all the ads. But you could also buy a two-door version of each of those cars, and complete with their kind of the GM, the classic GM kind of formal vertical rear window, and they weren't like fancy, they weren't sporty, they weren't particularly luxurious. It was just a Chevy Celebrity with two fewer doors, and like, why? But I kind of love, and I mean, they didn't sell very many of them. I mean, they were pretty rare on the road even at the time. I mean, maybe it was just like a savings thing, like maybe the cheapest one on the dealer, the cheapest one that you could get was a two doors. I think that was the case for a lot of them. I mean, you're going back into the 60s and 70s. But yeah, and at this point, and it's not like, I don't know. I mean, it'd be fun to look up like when each of those divisions kind of phased out the two-door option. But I think that by the end of the 80s, even though like a couple of those divisions kept those models going into the 90s, definitely the two doors didn't make it into the 90s. And yeah, and so when I see those cars now, it's been years at this point, but that's always a fun one. Niedermeyer, he goes through like brand by brand and nominates his what he thinks of as the last two-door sedans made by each of these. And so, like, for example, under Buick, he's got the Century, the two-door Century, but there were also the GM the N bodies, which were the kind of slightly small, like one step down from the A bodies size wise, and those were cars like the Buick Skylark, the Pontiac Grand Am, which I feel like when I moved to Western New York, I for a long time just thought like that's the official car of Western New York is the Pontiac Grand Am. that's where they all went, the Rust Belt. The funny thing, like with those cars, like to me, even though I mean, I guess they do share a roof line between the four doors and the two doors, but those two doors look much more kind of coupey to me. You know what do you concur with that, Rory?
Yeah, I mean the big long door, and the reason it looks more coupey is because the B pillar is placed further back or doesn't exist.
Yeah, I guess it just has like, yeah, it has less glass behind the B pillar. I guess that's what kind of reads as coupe to me.
Yeah.
But but that's what he calls the last two-door Buick sedan was the Skylark. And let's see what did he have for Ford? Oh, for yeah, Focus, the
2010.
Yep. There's for Dodge, there's the two-door Neon, which again, like that's a car that to me reads as a coupe, although I guess it does kind of fit his definition.
What about the Avenger? Wasn't there a two-door Avenger? Not like the first gen Avenger.
That's definitely more of a coupe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sporty.
Yeah.
Well, that first gen Avenger was like a coupe, like a Grand Am type coupe.
Mm-hmm.
But the second gen Avenger was a sedan, but it only came in 4-door. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, Ford Fairmont, that kind of existed in the Granada up into the 80s. Yeah. Anyway, the humble. I mean, I think I feel like the two-door sedan, just as a genre, was always kind of like that's a humble car, whether it's your kind of business coupe or I mean, it's I feel like those were mostly bought by people on a budget.
People who assume that they would be alone for their entire lives.
Maybe that's it.
There is no fucking way in the world I will ever need another set of doors. That circumstance does not exist.
Or they just didn't care.
Yeah.
Not planning on kids, Hey, it's a water the door, no problem.
Yeah. I have no friends.
Well, I mean,
I have no friends.
And the
I
thing
will
is,
never have children.
Well, and we can get into this later when we talk about kind of the reasons. Like, I want to just kind of go through these and then spend some time speculating about reasons for the demise of the two-door, just across all of these genres. But weirdly, with the two-door sedan, that what we think of in a modern context as being anti-child, before car seats became a thing, mm-hmm. which is something that I'm old enough to have. I mean, I did not have a car seat growing up as a kid. That was not part of my experience as a child. The car seat was the seat of the car, or wherever or the floor, or the back of the Pinto station wagon, wherever I chose to situate myself. If I was sitting in the front, that meant that if my mom slammed on the brakes, her arm was also going to
the mom arm.
Yeah, the mom arm. Whack me across the chest or the face as she tries to, save my life, keep me from going through the windshield. But prior to the advent of the car seat and the necessity of parents strapping children into them, which is much more difficult in a two-door car, obviously. Although I did it for years in the Saab and it was fine.
You're pro.
Yeah. But no, the thing is, the two-door was actually seen by people with children as a safer option
because they
than
couldn't
a four-door.
Open the door. There's no
because
door
you throw the kids in the back and they can't fucking open the door to yeet themselves out.
Which I'm sure happened all the time.
Safety lock. I see.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like I'm joking, but people really thought that.
That's legit. That's true. When did
that was seen as a safety advantage. It was.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think they came along in the 80s.
They're very old, but when did they require child safety locks? It's a very different
Yeah,
question.
that I'm not sure. But yeah, so two-door sedan for much of its history was one of the selling points of it was that your children were less likely to to open the door and fall out while the car is moving.
Yeah.
I think structurally too, it's probably safer to be back there without, like, the door opening with the latch is less structurally sounded probably in most cases than just the full slab side of the car.
That could be true.
Would be my guess.
I mean, I think just
It's an
the
eyeball
general
calculation.
the general safety of cars
Not opening the doors.
kind of prior to
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, especially up through the 70s and into the 80s, was such that I don't know that would have made a huge matter, but
Yeah.
it could have been.
I'm just like
something of
visually
an
eyeballing
advantage.
it. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if that's actually true, but like,
Right.
It's like, it seems like something that would make sense intuitively.
All right, so there's your two-door sedan. It's pretty utilitarian prospect, bought for, I have to think, largely pragmatic reasons of either safety or budget. Let's move on to another popular genre of two-door car, and this is a coupe, but it's not just any coupe. It's my favorite kind of coupe, the personal luxury coupe.
PLC.
Yeah. Which I guess, I mean, arguably, invented by Ford with the Thunderbird.
Thunderbird. Yeah, I think
Maybe.
that's fair.
I mean, the original T-Bird was.
I mean, and a lot of this discussion does ignore like the pre-war thing, which is like there were a ton of what you would call personal luxury coupe, big two-door, sedan based, car based, Packards, and I don't know if we want to get into that stuff because that's when if you think we're having semantic confusion in the post-war era, the early era, there's a whole that's maybe the most exhausting episode of the podcast ever, describing all the different ways they built two-door cars prior to the war.
I've been waiting for a car professor episode since we started the show. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, there are definitely arguments to be made that personal luxury coupes existed pre-war.
Yeah.
However,
but
they were not called that
for what we're, and also like what we're talking
as a
about.
marketing term.
But also like the thing that persisted. Ford Thunderbird is probably the first one. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
Well,
and
first American one anyway.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, well, let's kick it off here.
Okay.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Ford and the first Thunderbird, I would say is, well, I mean, it could be a personal luxury coupe. I mean, it was originally kind of a it's like, oh, we gotta do something like the Corvette, right? The Corvette had come out
so it was intended to be
53,
kind of a sports car.
Right? And so this was Ford coming back with their take on a European style two-door sporting, if not sports car, but their spin on it was definitely
more luxury, less sport.
Yeah,
although the
C1
C1 Corvette was really not super sporty. I mean,
Right.
Until midway through, it was not
Yeah,
a super sporty
exactly.
car.
Yeah. Yeah, stylish.
Yeah.
And two doors, but and which the T-Bird was too. But I would say that the personal luxury coupe, as we came to know and love it, didn't really come into existence, or came into existence with subsequent generations of Thunderbirds when they kind of abandoned the two-seat layout and went. It was 55 through 57. 58 was kind of the first of the bigger birds, where they opened it up. There's a back seat, and now it's kind of like it's a bigger, it's stylish, still stylish, but lacking the kind of sporting pretensions of the original Thunderbird, and just saying, no, this is about style, comfort, sophistication. You know, I mean,
Class.
we're yeah, exactly. It's like we're moving up market. Like this is a vibe, right? This is appealing to people who want to come across as stylish and sophisticated. And it's like, yeah, man, check out my fucking T-Bird. Yeah, and the other U.S. manufacturers were kind of close on their heels. I mean, Buick had the Riviera in '63, which was very similar idea. Later on, you had things like the Oldsmobile Toronado, the Pontiac Grand Prix, the original Grand Prix. These are just like big, luxurious, like they're cool, man. Just, like, especially the 60s. Like, I mean, I just think of like, I mean, my dad had a '69 Grand Prix when I was real small, and that car to me is just so cool. Just I mean, just look it up online. They're just great looking cars that are they're very they're very masculine coded, but they're not muscle cars. They're not like aggro, you know? It's like, it almost kind of exemplifies this kind of masculinity that almost no longer exists, you know? It's like a
Dad's
kind of
in his
thing,
study
like,
masculinity. Yeah, Dad's in his study with his risky masculinity. Yeah.
yeah, you know, or just like a, you know, like a fucking, you know, maybe even like a George Clooney kind of like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, you know, that kind of like cool, suave, sophisticated guy. Doesn't need to show off, you know, doesn't need to like be a badass.
Yeah.
You know, he's just cool and chill, and he's got his fucking stylish car.
Sense of like self-control. Yeah.
The pre-Kid Rock masculinity.
Yeah, exactly.
Brutal stuff.
But yeah, and it's funny. I mean, I love that car. He also had, I think, like a '64 or '65 Grand Prix before that, before I was born, and to him, like, that was the car. Like, he thought that was like the coolest. Like, no, man, that was a cool car. But yeah, I mean, so this was kind of the '60s. You know, I feel like that's the full flower of the personal luxury coupe, and then into the '70s, you know, you got your and now they became like really, like in the '70s was when it wasn't just like a kind of like successful popular category of car, like now they were like, they were the best selling cars. I mean, now we get into the era of your Cutlass Supremes, your Chevy Monte Carlos, the Thunderbirds got bigger, and I mean the Thunderbirds just turned into like fucking huge Luxo barges. I mean those 70s T-Birds, I mean they were the same cars like the Lincoln Continentals, right? Were they? Did they share? Do you know, Rory? Did they share?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like those, Mark V Continentals. I mean, those were also personal luxury coupes. I mean, I mean, that's like, I mean, I think those are some of like just the coolest and greatest American cars. Like that's kind of like, I mean, and it's like, I mean, we are getting into Malaise era now, but at the same time, like, I feel like those cars represented a zenith of sorts for the American auto industry. I mean, just in these just big, luxurious, comfortable, powerful. I mean, like less so obviously as the day, as the emissions controls
not necessarily
came in,
powerful, but they had a lot of displacement. They're giant engines.
Yes,
not making a lot of
torquey,
power, but
torquey still. Yeah. But that kind of that added to their. I mean that torquey. I mean, for whatever they lacked in power, they still had that kind of bottom end grunt, which gave them that kind of effortlessness. They weren't made to like. They weren't like barnstormer cars. They weren't canyon carvers, or they weren't they weren't cars for fucking going fast, other than just making time across states or whatever. But they were big and comfortable, and they looked good. But like kind of a softening too, like demographically, the personal luxury coupe, I feel like it underwent a shift from being like kind of a manly car in the 60s, and then kind of into the 70s, and then for sure into the 80s. Like I feel like the kind of primary buyer for like a Cutlass Supreme in the early 80s was a woman. I mean, these were like, and for the same reasons. I mean, just like stylish, but comfortable. But it was a different, it had a different connotation. I feel like just sociologically and demographically.
It's a Virginia Slims thing, not a Marlboro thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Put it in terms we all understand. Cigar brands.
Yes. Yeah, and so that was kind of. I mean, I feel like the 70s and 80s for sure were the heyday of the personal luxury coupe. I mean, they did continue to exist. Into the. I mean, obviously you had your Continentals. Like Mark VIII Continental into the 90s. Sick car that I would fucking love to have. And the thing is, there are. I feel like with the personal luxury coupe, there are non-US. There are plentiful European examples of cars that would meet the definition of a personal luxury coupe. And I think of like the big Mercedes kind of S-Class coupes, like in
yeah, totally.
Which, those are still around, right? Is there still there definitely was. The last generation had a S-Class coupe. And I mean, I think of those as kind of like in the same spirit, just like a big, comfortable, stylish. I mean, there's no reason for there to be a two-door version, but definitely luxurious. But yeah, I mean, are there there are Japanese examples too, especially in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I feel like I've talked about my.
I just had to check this. The S-Class Coupe is dead.
But there was a S-Class Coupe for the last generation, right?
Oh,
Wasn't
yeah.
there? It's like a really good looking car.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, those are beautiful. That's too bad. They should bring it back. That was a great looking. That was like one of the best looking.
Yeah, they were
big
awesome.
Mercedes coupes ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
There's a.
I was gonna say
there's two. There's a CLE Coupe is the last Mercedes Coupe.
right, which is kind of the mid-sized version of same, right? But yeah, like I mean, there were a number of Japanese takes on kind of your personal luxury coupe, even though they're slightly less luxurious. But I mean, I still think about my late lamented Datsun 200SX that I had in college. That you know, I mean, that was a Japanese Monte Carlo, man. And there were Camry two doors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There were Accord two doors.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess now, like, those are
two-door sedans for me.
Those are two-door sedans, but there was also there was the Toyota Solara. Was that just the convertible, or was that also the two-door?
That a Camry two-door, yeah, and two-door convertible.
Yeah, the Solara, I feel like that reads to me as
two-door. Yeah,
well, kind of. I mean, it's a gray area, man.
I mean, by the Niedermeyer definition, it's same
I guess
line.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although no, I don't know. I guess it did
Hard
have
to say.
a slightly different roof line. Yeah.
What about the Chrysler?
LeBaron.
I mean, what was the one that you were? Well, the LeBaron for sure.
Yeah.
Personal luxury coupe. What about the Sebring? There was a Sebring coupe, right?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not just convertible. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah.
95 to 2005, it looks like.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Are there other extant examples of personal luxury coupes
Today.
now? I feel like it's not completely extinct. Whereas the two-door sedan, I feel like is effectively extinct.
The one car that I would say is like on the line is the LC 500.
Oh, totally.
Which is,
I mean,
it's
it's
more of a luxurious sports car, I think, than like it. It's not.
I mean, it's definitely a two-seater.
Yeah.
Right? Is it not even a 2+2? It's just a straight up two-seater.
It's a two-seater. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost more like Mercedes SL, which
I would call it more of a sports car than like heavy grip in it. Yeah.
It's a very luxurious. I mean, it's a personal luxury sports car.
It is. It is a 2+2 in the sense that there are seats back there, but you couldn't put.
Yeah.
You couldn't sit in them.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is really like a kind of blending between genres, but this is more. It's more like 300 SL to me than it is 356, it is more of a sports car, like just and really because of the way it drives and the way like it, you know what I mean, like it's not a sedan, a two-door sedan with a better roof line, you know what I mean, to look more stylish.
It is
for
more
sure
of a
sports. Yeah. But that's as close as I would probably come from the Japanese side.
Yeah, there were the Mazda Cosmos, like up through the 90s. I feel like those were personal luxury coupes.
Yeah, I mean, they're I guess, and I think philosophically, it's like, okay, it's a Soarer, or it's like any number of
Yeah. Well, like the exactly like this.
The SC400
I was going to say
or-
I was just going to say the Lexus coupes, early 90s coupes. That's personal luxury coupe for sure.
I would say that, but they're also like, because they're Japanese, they're more sports car oriented than you know what I mean than like
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, yeah, but I mean, yeah, maybe. What about like Peugeot 406?
that.
That I
would
think is a
say.
personal luxury coupe.
I agree with that. Yep.
Just got to be more.
Did I say Nissan
But yeah,
Sora a
but-
second ago? I meant Toyota the Sora. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. Are there any others that we can think of current cars that could possibly meet that definition? I'm coming up short.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Well,
Could be
the Audi A5 would be personal luxury
Oh.
coupe, I think.
Is that-
sedan base?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, actually, I think that is. I feel like that's
Yeah.
a rare example. And I think those are such great looking cars. But did they discontinue that?
There's
I think
2025.
I think they might have.
Well, no, you're right. It's gone. There's a Sportback. It's a hatchback.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P. Man, we got okay. We got to bring back personal luxury coupe. All right, let's move on. Next category,
Pony car.
the pony car.